Hello everyone and welcome back to the second episode of the Snazzy Comments, where today I will have again another go at answering all your questions. But before that, I might just quickly say I'm going to change the way this works. I don't know if I'll answer every single question because there are a lot, and it seems like some of you seem to be asking the same questions. For the love of God, I've already told you what I think about top tier naval, so stop asking. But other than that, there's two other things I wanted to say. One, I have not had a particularly great week. Obviously, they're still trying to recover from losing the channel. It's not fun. I've had some university problems because it seems like there's been an error on the university's end and they've got my grade wrong. As in, like, they seem to think it's lower than it actually is. So that's fun. And my phone has broken. So... you know, it's not looking great. I mean, basically the touchscreen doesn't work. I'm gonna see if I can throttle Apple tomorrow and try and get them to fix it. Hopefully it's not expensive. Hopefully it doesn't cost anything. But yeah, it would be nice if we can get that fixed because I can't really do anything on my phone at the moment. With the touchscreen gone, I can't log in, I can't use any of the apps, I can't call anyone, I can't text anyone. Can't even access my Apple Pay, so I can't buy anything either. So, yeah, getting into the middle of the city is going to be fun. I'm going to have to go by foot. So, yay. Yay for me. So, we're not having a great week, but other than that, let's get on with these questions. Also, previously you'll have noticed in the other ones that I would add like a little, well, a text on the screen that would say who is asking the question and what the question is. I'm going to stop doing that because, one, it takes way too long to to do the editing for all of these. For what the video is, it takes way too long, and some of your questions are way too long. I don't mind a long question, but it gets a bit awkward trying to type it all out on screen. So if you want your question to be answered, just keep your ears peeled and listen out for me answering your question. The first question we are going to ask is from... Oriel KN10, who is asking, he has three questions. What was your first premium in War Thunder? I don't actually know what this was. Other than the ones that the game encourages you to get anyway, like as part of the game tutorial, which I think mine was Tux Gladiator. I don't know what it would have been. I'm thinking maybe the Mustang 1A or the Wirraway, something like that. But really, I have no idea what my first premium was. First jet, though, which is his second question. First jet was the Meteor Mark III. Didn't play it a whole lot. I think I got it back in 2017. Didn't play it very much. Wasn't very good at it. Because back then, that was close to high tier. And amazingly, I wasn't good at high tier back then either. But at least I did like high tier. And obviously, I'm better at that tier now. I'm quite good in the Meteor now. His third question is... do you like the Buccaneer? And I do like the Buccaneer. I'm not likely to play it anytime soon because even though I'm pretty sure it's my most played vehicle in realistic battles, that was when it was first released. I was so excited for it and I played it to death. Many, many games. But that is, well, that was in a different time. There were less things capable of catching it because back then you'd use your air spawn, you'd fly in, you'd bomb a base or two, and then you'd run away before people could hopefully try and catch you. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But that was the usual gameplay style. Nowadays, though, there are more things that can catch you. There are faster planes, there are deadlier missiles. And to make matters worse, well, they took away its air spawn. So why? Why? It's just some of War Thunder's decisions boggles the mind. Like... they basically do nothing now. It's really no point. And they also, since then, they've nerfed the amount you've earned from destroying ground targets and bases. So strike aircraft, like the Buccaneer, that thrive on destroying bases and ground targets, well, they kind of can't anymore because you're earning roughly half of what you used to be able to do. So there's really no point in me going back to it. War Thunder Winger asks, would you like a Poland tech tree with the Eastern Bloc vehicles? Again, if I had to pick a nation to come to the game, it would be something like Poland or the Czech Republic, but I don't think it would work. If you try, you can make a pretty convincing tech tree full of mostly domestic vehicles. But I know what War Thunder's like, and they're not going to do that. They're just going to make it a terrible copy-paste. And because I know that's what they'll do, no, I don't really want a Polish tech tree, unfortunately. Flack Alley, a celebrity in our comments here, is saying, hope you're doing alright. It's such a shame you're doing so well for yourself on the channel, and it was always a pleasure to watch you grow from nothing to over 20,000 subscribers so quickly. Slightly delayed on the news, but did notice that you hadn't uploaded in a while, and there were no recommendations. Will you still be doing Friday streams? You'll spring back from this, don't lose any hope. To help out, both videos have been watched with full attention by a good number of us. Yes, they have, and thank you everybody for that. As for Friday game streams, yes, at some point, because I stopped them before the channel went down, and that's mostly because I kept getting power cuts and things while streaming, and when that happens, the stream ends and you have to make another one, and it's really bad for trying to retain an audience if you're doing that. So yeah, that is kind of the reason it stopped. So there's that. There's your answer. Friday games will be back at some point, hopefully. Wilbrew Plays asks, and I say Wilbrew Plays asks, a lot of people have asked this one. If you do another comments video, would you play another genre of game on the channel, and what would it be? Well, the problem is, with my channel being sort of focused on a specific thing, and more importantly, the fans being there for a specific thing, it's kind of difficult to branch out, because as soon as I do something else, no one will watch it. So there's that. However, the Snazzy Comments is a good opportunity to use anything as B-roll, because, you know, you watch War Thunder and other stuff similar on this channel all the time, so I don't necessarily need to have War Thunder as background footage. I am for this one, but in future, I can always try another game. And it can literally be any game. It can be whatever I have access to, and use that as background footage. Because it's background footage, you're either watching it or you aren't. If you're not, then you're just listening to the video. But if you are that interested, then you can watch the background footage, and then all sorts of games can be showcased. So literally there are no restrictions when it comes to what games I'll have in the background. It could be a horror game, it can be a Nintendo game, it can be an RPG game, it can be a story-based game, it can be whatever. So yeah, it can be literally whatever I choose, and I think that'll be a good chance to showcase other games that I actually play. Daily Battle Gamer says, what's your absolute top 5 favourite vehicles in-game or not? Okay, well, I'll try and quickfire these. These won't be in order, but the top 5 in-game would be the Walker Bulldog, one of the Pershing variants. Oh no, I'm stumbling already. Oh god. I really don't know. I want to say one of the Lightnings as well. The Easy 8 Sherman, and I guess the T-34-85. We'll go with that. In real life, we'll say the Comet, the Starfire, the Super Sabre, and some others. That's the best I could do, you know. Yeah, we'll go with that. I had to kind of quick-fire those answers. Mahu Nishizumi War Thunder asked, do you have any advice for air? Because they're a ground main, and they've grinded a bit of air. Currently doing Israel. What advice would you have for props, early jets, top tier, dogfighting, missiles, etc.? Starting to get a bit more interest for air, and I've gotten the basics down. Well, that's a good start. I'm going to ask this one. I'm going to leave this over to you guys, the comments. See if you can provide Mahu Nishizumi with some air advice, because I used to have a tutorial, like a pro tips video on this, but obviously that's gone now. Main one for me, it would be situational awareness, so always being, you know, aware of what's around you, like making sure you don't get ambushed, for one. You know, tunnel vision, you don't want to have tunnel vision, you know. Half the time players die because they don't realise there's someone behind them, so, you know, make sure that doesn't happen. And I guess just be aware of what's going on in the battlefield, so you don't end up missing something important. You know, you go to where the action is, you go to where your plane needs to be, rather than committing to a flank where is probably not really worth your time, really. Like, for example, if you're the 5th player chasing after a bomber, yeah, you don't need to be that 5th player. Just go do something else. Otherwise, you'll miss out. Gold Flamacious wants to know, have you ever or will you ever play War Thunder Mobile? No, and probably not, no. There's no point in me playing War Thunder Mobile. I play real War Thunder, so there's just no point. I mean, it seems like a decent game. It's surprisingly popular as well, but I've always seen like mobile equivalent games as just played by people that don't have access to the main game. So if you do have access to the main game, there's no point, because the graphics are worse, the gameplay is kind of the same, but the controls are worse, the tech trees are different-ish, but no, it's just, there's no point. I have the real game. Like, I used to know someone that would play World of Tanks Blitz, but on a PC. Like, why? What's the point? Just play real World of Tanks at that point. So, yeah, no, no War Thunder Mobile, sorry. The average Swedish main is asking if I have any more old videos saved on the computer. Sadly not. The only reason I had the ones that I've uploaded so far, which I think is all of them now, aside from a couple shorts, the only reason I have them all, or the ones I do, is because I happen to forget to delete them, which I thought I had deleted them. So a bit of luck there, but as for now, we are out of the old videos, so everything from here on is going to be new content. Buck Blaster asks, do you like the Term 3? No, I don't. It's a horrible, horrible tank. Horrible in the sense that it's very annoying to fight and they're everywhere and it's ridiculously popular. So it's not a bad vehicle for the player, but fighting them, well, it's not like they're hard to kill, but they're just everywhere and it's just irritating. More so because it's ugly. It's a horrible looking tank. So yeah, no, I do not like the Term 3. Ryder Sanderson 8225 wants to know what they say. I understand that you don't play much higher tier than 10.0, which is fair because the game starts becoming unfun, but do you have an interest in 70s to modern era aviation? These are, of course, mostly only exist past 10.0 in the game. Yes, I do. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You know, when it comes to real life, a plane is still cool. Like, if I happen to be walking around and a Eurofighter Typhoon flies over, it'll be like, wow, there's a Eurofighter Typhoon, that's so cool. And when I see one at an air show, it is still cool, but I do prefer older technology. It's just how I am. Well, when I say I prefer older technology, I mean for like military stuff. Like, older planes are cooler in my opinion. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Like, I do find them cool, but there's something happened after the 70s where they're just slightly less interesting to me overall. Maybe because they are more standardized. You know, there's a lot more countries using the same designs at this point. Most of them are painted grey, which isn't a particularly interesting colour, that sort of thing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Mr. Panzer 234 says, are you subscribed to Bowtime Gaming, and if so, would you do a possible collaboration? Well, you have to ask Bowtime Gaming. I'll take any opportunity I can get at this point, but the real question is, would Bowtime Gaming actually care if I wanted to do a collaboration? They might do. You never know, and that would be huge for the channel. But I haven't seen. I was subscribed for the longest of time. I only wasn't subscribed when I got the new channel. But they do make good stuff. They were some of the first War Thunder content I watched. I watched their fail compilations like years ago. It must be something like 10 years ago when I started watching Bowtime Gaming. So yeah, long time fan of his. Asbestos Dust has asked, do you think that more planes like the Finnish B239 should be added to the game? As in, while technically it's a vehicle that exists in another tree, it's different enough from the original counterpart. In other words, compared to the Buffalo, the B239 is denavalized and performs differently to the American counterpart. It has unique armament, and even the cockpit is different as the gauges are not in English. Yeah, sure. I mean, War Thunder has always had fairly boring vehicles and other tech trees, even before the copy-paste craze, if you will. Like, even when the game first came out, there was, like, just a Russian FW-190D, which was identical, aside from the fact it had Russian roundels on. You know, the US got a 190, the US got a BF-109, that sort of thing. The Germans got a Wellington, and they were all just copies. So I can't really stop them. But if they are more unique, then yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, you could argue that the nations at top tier that all share the MiG-29 or the MiG-21 have unique features, but for me it's just less interesting that way. But I think I'd prefer it if nations still got their own unique stuff, but I think it's less annoying when there's copy-paste around the World War II eras, if that makes sense. Poison Enjoyer says this, asks, so there's a few sub-air trees, i.e. Swiss and the Thai, even though a lot of them would be more copy-pasted aircraft. Do you think, personally, that more sub-trees would be cool to see? Again, with the Poland question, no, I do not. I'm sorry, there it is. No, I don't. One of my videos, again, before the channel went down, was called War Thunder's Most Disappointing Feature, and it was talking about sub-trees. They are bad. They don't offer anything to the game, especially nothing new. The only thing they do is give players of a certain nation slightly more variety, I guess, but then again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Why would you want to play Italy, for example, if you're complaining that there's only Italian vehicles? Like, if you want to play the Hungarian vehicles, just go and play Russia, because that's all they have. You know, all the Hungarian stuff is just Russian, with the exception of like 2 or 3 tanks early on. So, yeah, again, I don't see the point. It just makes the game less interesting. It makes what you fight less interesting, because you're always, you know, like, let's say you're playing as Russia, and you're using the T-34-85, and you're fighting the Germans, but then you're also fighting the Swedish, and the Swedish get a T-34-85, and it's just less interesting. It makes the countries feel, yes, less unique. They have less of a personality. There's less of a serious decision when you start the game on what nation to play, because at this point everyone has everything of each other's, which is just boring. So no. And another subtree, knowing on how Gaijin would implement it, it would be boring. It would just be boring. The Thai one is a complete joke. There's nothing Thai in it. It's just boring. So no, please no more subtrees. Ruby Fox wants to know, when do we blow up Google HQ and steal your account back? Great idea, but I don't know. I think it's too late, to be honest. Plus, that wouldn't get my account back. Foxtrot asked, did you know about the cursed attempt to turn the Hawker Hunter, into a civilian business aircraft? If you didn't, search it up, the Hawker P1128, and behold the horrors. I did read this at the time, and I did look at it in my own time. I didn't know about it beforehand, but I have since looked it up, and yeah, it looks horrible, to be honest. I'll show a picture on screen, but yeah, if you ever wanted to know what a civilian airliner Hawker Hunter looked like, well, yeah, there you go. In a similar vein, Gamer Crunch asked what I think about the Westland P12 as an event vehicle for Britain. And what do you think about silly vehicles for cool events? Yeah, it is definitely a silly vehicle, but I don't think it'll be very good. I mean, it's going to be slow, it's going to have a tiny bomb load, and I don't think it has any forward armament, so no, I don't think this should come to the game. Also, I'd rather just forget this thing exists, because it is horrible. For those that don't know, it's basically a Westland Lysander, which is fine, but they've ruined the back of it by giving it a gunner. It's another tandem wing plane, and it looks really bad, to be honest. But as for silly vehicles for cool events, yeah, why not? We need more unique vehicles. I'm not sure if this is the solution, but yeah. Jano asks, would you prefer the MiG-25 to be an event or a tech tree vehicle? I'll say tech tree, because I'm pretty sure there's an interceptory line in the Russian tech tree, and the MiG-25 I think is too mainstream to be an event vehicle. Well, that would cause an outrage, so yeah, I don't think so. It would be in a interceptor line. Plus, there are more interceptors they could add to make it fit better. I just hope they don't then add the MiG-25 to the tech tree, and then add a very slightly different MiG-25 to the event tree as well, because that would be boring. Crafty asks, what is your favourite non-war and One Piece anime? So that's including Girls and Panzer and Azur Lane. I haven't seen that many war anime. There's plenty of animes that have war in them, but if by war you mean like based on real wars, I'm trying to think of all the ones I have seen that have them in it, but aren't necessarily about it. Violet Evergarden's loosely based off of post-World War One, kind of, but in a fictional world. But it's not really about the war. It's whatever. You get the idea. Again, Gate is kind of a war anime, but it's more of a... It's not. Again, it's not a real war. It's just the real JSDF fighting some fantasy people and absolutely wrecking them. I'm trying to think of other ones I've seen. There's a couple movies, like some of the Ghibli movies are set in wartime and that sort of thing. I've seen 88 or Area 88, whichever one it's called, or is it 86? No, it's called 86. That's why. Not Area 88. That's a different thing. Which is also a war one, I guess. I can't really think of ones I've seen off the top of my head outside of the ones you mentioned, though. I'm not really into it as far as an anime genre is concerned, which sounds surprising, but yeah, I don't know. But my favourite anime that isn't one of those or One Piece would be probably the Dragon Ball franchise. I've been a fairly long time fan of that for about 6 years, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Just wish we got more content more often, because or they finished Dragon Ball Super and then they just decided to not continue it for about 7 years. So can we get Dragon Ball Super 2, please? Or just a continuation of the story? It's not finished. I think the problem with Dragon Ball is obviously the main creators passed away about a year or two ago, and obviously that means no more content, right? At least that's usually the case. If Eiichiro Oda died, then One Piece would probably stop. That wouldn't stop plenty of fans from trying to create their own endings. But I guess the difference is Dragon Ball already had a new successor. Akira Toriyama had appointed Toyotaro to replace him, basically, because the thing about Dragon Ball is, even though it was wildly successful and Akira Toriyama had fun making it, he was kind of in a situation where he was kind of ready for it to end, but due to its immense popularity, I wouldn't say he was forced to, but he felt the need to keep it going. And no one felt at any point during Dragon Ball's run that it was just continuing for the sake of it and there was no heart put into it. But I think Akira Toriyama was ready for it to end at various points. In fact, you can even tell, based on where the story's going, that it would have ended at that point, but they kept it going again. And it does flow, it does work nicely, but it's almost like, you know, Harrison Ford not wanting to keep playing Han Solo because he didn't really like Star Wars. It's not that Akira Toriyama didn't like Star Wars, though, well, or that they didn't like Dragon Ball, but it's more that it was more successful than they necessarily intended it to be. So it kind of just kept on going, not necessarily because the creator wanted it to, even though they did enjoy making it. Which all leads back to what I was trying to say. Toyotaro is now in charge, well, at least in charge of writing the manga, but even he keeps stalling. I don't really know why. Like, it's not an ongoing thing like with One Piece. One Piece is constantly continuing because it's all the creator does, basically. So you're not going to run out, but with Dragon Ball it kind of comes and goes in stages. Like, you get one series and series of manga to go with it, and then it will end, then you have to wait a bunch of years, and then it will come back again, and then it will end, and then you have to wait a bunch of years, and we're currently in the waiting a bunch of years stage of it. Also, if you, I don't know if you can hear that, but you probably can. If you can hear like a whirring noise, it's our very rattly boiler that just suddenly decides to vibrate every now and then, so there's that. Jano asks, what comics did you read as a kid, if any? I didn't really. I'm not a comic book guy, which sounds weird because I'm definitely a manga guy, but there's something about Western comics that just doesn't interest me at all for some reason. Is it the way they're paced? Is it the way they're written? I'm not huge on the art style. I'm more of an anime art style guy than like a cartoon art style guy. Which is probably why I don't like Invincible nearly as much as a lot of people seem to. It's really not that good, guys, I'm just saying. But that's a hot take, which that's a different can of worms, I guess. But no, I was not a comics guy. In fact, I really wasn't that much of a book guy, to be honest. But nowadays, for about 2018 onwards, I was at the very least a manga guy, which I guess counts as a form of comics. They are just kind of Japanese comics, but I do like those. I definitely prefer those. Even if they are in black and white, they're still very fun to read. There's nothing wrong with it being in black and white. Plus, a lot of comics are weird. I know you get some very weird anime, but they're usually, like, very shut off from most of society, whereas some weird comic moments seem to be a lot more mainstream. Like, I've seen plenty of YouTube videos on, like, weird things that have happened in DC and Marvel and that sort of thing, and it's just bizarre. I think some of these creators need to either see a therapist or be put behind bars, honestly. Just some of the ideas they come up with are just honestly baffling why you would even think about putting that into a comic book, but whatever. Wilsey Mac, honest opinion on France. Well, I know I do joke about it quite often. It's more of just a England making fun of France joke, which is, you know, it's a classic joke. It's a classic. They'd probably do the same. My actual opinion on France is pretty good. I haven't been there that many times. I think I've only been there like twice. One to Normandy and one to somewhere in the south of France. But it is pretty good, pretty nice. But then again, I wouldn't say anything French is necessarily my favourite. Like, French food isn't my favourite. I don't really know anything about French music. And even if we're just boiling it down to, like, military technology, French planes and French tanks aren't my favourites either. So, there's not a lot going for it, if no offence to the French. But I just don't have any strong connections to it. Like, I have stronger connections to Germany because I used to live there, and I love their food, and I quite like their culture, and I liked living in Germany. But I don't really have that sort of connection to France, so there you go. Sharks, your local death trooper. He's no longer the local 262 enthusiast, I guess. Says, what's your favourite paper tank design and favourite paper plane design? Favourite paper plane would probably be the ME262 HG3 because it's badass and it's gorgeous and it looks actually like a swallow now, so there's that. Also, I can't really think of that many American paper plane designs. America usually ended up actually making the planes that all the wacky designs they had. As for paper tank design, ooh, that is a tough one. Again, with American ones, which are usually my favourite, they usually ended up making the tank that had a weird design. So, I have some ideas. I have two. One would be the M5Y, the Yo tanks, if anyone's played World of Tanks, the Yo tanks. And the other would be the T-43, the wooden mock-up of it. The T-43 basically became the M103. But the original design, even though it looks very generic, I just like the way this thing looks, and I like to see that as a paper design, or just in War Thunder or something. Lost Piloto wants to know, how would you improve the gameplay for bombers and interceptors? How could night battles be implemented? Well, we'll hold off of night battles for now. Bombers and interceptors, well, if there were more AI bombers, and it was more important, so you didn't just feel like you're farming AI, that could be a way of fixing interceptors. Bombers, give more bomber targets, like just more objectives, like some ARB games that revolve around the success of the bombers kind of things, so they feel more important. Also increasing their durability a lot, so they don't die immediately. That's probably the main one I would change. Increasing the amount they earn as well. Gunners, at least change the range that they engage targets to like 1 kilometer or something. Obviously you can manually control the gunners and shoot whatever range you like, but it's, you know, it seems to be very inconsistent, my gunner aiming skills personally. But I want to see my gunners try and have a go by themselves without me having to switch to manual control all the time. Because apparently, someone told me that they've changed it so gunners don't actually shoot back until the enemy is within 0.6 kilometers. Which is completely unfair, because most enemy planes engage you at about 0.8 kilometers or less. So they're getting a good 0.2 kilometers of time to shoot you before your gunners even decide it's worth shooting back. So, yeah, no wonder you die so quickly. As for night battles, I don't know. As long as they're not too dark, like some of the ground ones. Honestly, I don't know. Gamer Crunch has also asked, also since you mentioned being a Clone Wars guy, if you had to have a clone legion that you led, what would it be called, and what would be its number, and what colour would the armour be? I don't know about the number or the name. I don't know, most of them do just have the number as its name. I guess we'll go the 155th as the number. And the colour would be... Well, it's going to be white and something. I would say white and yellow, but that's kind of already been done. Maybe... I was going to say white and orange, but that's also been done. Oh, no, this is really tough. I would still say white and yellow in some kind of pattern that hasn't been done yet, if that makes sense. Crying Face is asking what my favourite Girls and Panzer character or characters are. If I had to pick a top 3, it would be Kay, Anchovy, and Darjeeling, who are the best, because they're just the funniest. They're probably the most quirky, maybe, but the show as a whole has a very good cast. There are very few characters in that show that I just genuinely despise, which is quite hard to say for a lot of shows that I've watched. So I hope that answers them. But yeah, it would have to be one of those 3. The Destroyer YouTube asked, do you think you'd ever play Doom, whether it's 2016 Eternal or the Dark Ages? Yeah, I'll play Doom at some point. I haven't played Doom myself. I think I might have actually played the PS1 version way back in the day, if that was even for the PS1. Sure, I'd like to play Doom, but I haven't played Doom, and it's not something I'm going to immediately do in the near future. Wigbolt Reperda wants to know, if you cannot play War Thunder on your computer, what device would you play on it? Oh god, that's hard. That's really hard. I've kind of gotten so used to PC gaming that it almost feels weird to play something on, play a game on, especially like War Thunder, on something else. I'd have to say like a very high-end console, like a PS5, and then plug a mouse and keyboard in it, because I'm not playing it with a controller, because that will be bad. I've done it before, and it was awful. There's way too many keybinds, and it just doesn't work with the controls, especially with regards to flying. It's just bad. So my condolences to anyone that has. If you can, try and plug in a mouse and keyboard. I'm pretty sure it can be done, but I'd thoroughly recommend doing that. I remember when War Thunder first came out on the Xbox One. I can't remember what year that was. I think it was either 2019 or 2020. It was something like that. And I only had a not great computer at the time. It was alright. It ran the game. But I had an Xbox One, and it was coming out on Xbox One. I was like, oh, perfect. I'll just switch to Xbox One, because I keep getting nagged to... I think it was like a shared computer, so I think the people I was sharing it with were nagging me to give it back, basically. So it was coming out on Xbox One. I was like, perfect. I'll just play it on the Xbox One. Oh, boy. That did not last long. Opening day, it was terrible. It really was. First of all, it insisted that I couldn't use the same email. So, therefore, I had to start again. And that wasn't very fun. Second of all, the controls, again, were horrible. And third, it didn't even run that well. Like, the frame rate was relatively low, and it just didn't look very good. So, yeah. Hopefully I don't have to play War Thunder on another device. Ripley Vitamin says, Snazzy, am I a bad person for drinking dry cornflakes out of a 1-litre jug as a bedside snack? Ah, the old cereal without milk argument. I have always been against this one. No matter what cereal it is, I just don't see the point on eating dry cereal. It's just, well, for one, it's really dry. It just doesn't taste very good. Plus, cereal goes hand in hand with milk. I don't see why you'd want to have plain shreddies, especially cornflakes. Yeah, at least pick one of the sugary ones. Dry cornflakes, yikes. You might as well eat bird food, but alright, you do you. I wouldn't say it makes you a bad person, but it just makes me tilt my head a little bit. Nice Boobs asks, thoughts on Polish Independence Day? Alright, I've never celebrated it personally, but congrats on Poland for getting their independence. So that is about all I can say on that. Lost Piloto wants to know, if someone could give you $10,000, what would you do? So in other words, what would I spend $10,000 on? Well, I try not to spend all of it, but for one, I'd get a car, so I can actually have one finally, buy myself a nice dinner, and actually fix my friggin' phone, which is driving me up the wall. It's honestly ridiculous that I don't have a working phone at the moment. The amount of things I am now unable to do with it. Oh man, it's been a disaster. Finnish Walmart shopping bag asks, unlimited bacon but no games, or unlimited games but no games? I've fallen for this one before. From what I've managed to work out, you have to choose the first option because the second option just means you don't get anything. So we're going to go with the first one, which means unlimited bacon, which sounds great, but there's no games. Yuri DDLC has a very long paragraph, which is probably why I stopped putting the text up on the screen. Would you, Mr. SnazzyComet, rather enjoy the pleasure of infinite grilled pig stomach parts, but as a trade-off, not be able to lay an eye on entertainment made by a computer consisting of a central processing unit, read and access memory, power supply, graphics processing unit, and various other electrical parts using on and off actions to determine the kinds of machines, or rather have unlimited, or the other option, rather have unlimited entertainment provided from sources other than one of humankind's most important inventions since the dawn of the wheel, but be never allowed to divert any of your intellect to such beautiful things as electrical processing units. This was not made by AI. I really spent 30 minutes typing that. Honestly, that was like having a... I think I had a stroke reading that. I can't even remember what the question is. So we'll just say yes. It's a response. I can't even remember what the two options are. Why grilled stomach parts anyway? That doesn't sound particularly appealing. Fubar asks, what is your opinion on the Chinese tech tree? I personally really enjoy it. I used to also personally really enjoy it. When it came out, I was really excited, and I played it a lot. I got to about 7.7 or 8.0 for air and ground, and it was fun. But I don't know what changed, but I just stopped being interested in it. So, yeah. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I became more aware of copy-paste, and it is very copy-pasty. But I also became more interested in just playing vehicles from their home nation. Like, if I want to play a Patton, I'll play the US. If I want to play a P40, I'll play the US. If I want to play an LA9 or a T-34, I'll play the Russians. So that kind of put me off China, and I haven't really looked back much yet. If you really don't care about that sort of thing, then it is a decent nation to grind out, because you get a sort of best of both worlds case with all the nations mashed into the Chinese tech tree. But if you're looking for something interesting, the Chinese are not really the best choice. So there you go. And that is the final question, the final comment for this video. Again, comment more things for me to ask next time, or just talk about. It can just be thoughts on a topic or whatever. Ask what you like. No bounds, no restrictions. And again, give Maho Nishizumi War Thunder some tips on how to play Air RB, because they're looking for some advice. So yeah, hopefully things get better for me soon. I would like my phone back. It is, don't want to prove reliant on it, but it is quite hard not being able to phone people, talk to people, or even pay for things. So, yeah, I've got a fun few walking trips through in and out the city coming up later this week. So, lucky me. Anyways, that's all we've got for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe for more, hit the bell, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Oh, go on then. I'll let you watch the rest of this battle. Yeah, I never promised we'd win it, though, did I?